We're also joined in the committee room by Damien Lawlor of the Sunday Independent and by Cork camogie star Anna Geary. And very shortly, we'll be joined in Limerick by former Waterford manager Davy Fitzgerald. Brian, first of all, I've never seen you looking so well. How is the nose?
Well, there's a lot to be said for makeup, Marty, I can tell you that, because around 10 to 4 Sunday I didn't look that well, but thankfully now the staff here have done a great job in patching me up there tonight. I look $1 million.
Did you ever consider not continuing?
No, I suppose just when the two doctors gave me the okay that I wasn't broke or anything like that, it was never in my mind but to continue, and I was delighted to be able to continue, because I was a long time sort of waiting to get an All-Ireland or hoping to get an All-Ireland, and thankfully it worked out in the end. Did
you have a word with Tommy Walsh after the match?
No, I didn't see Tommy since, so I'm sure I'll bump into him somewhere down the line. And but in fairness, no, it was a complete accident, and it's grand about it, you know. In
terms of refereeing the match, your first All-Ireland final, 81,000 there, watched by millions on TV and listened to on radio. What was it like for you?
It was absolutely fabulous, a tremendous occasion. The atmosphere, especially my family being there, I think was the big thing, and the well-wishers I had the whole week. It was a big occasion for me, but really at the start of the second half and during the second half I really started to enjoy it and soak up the atmosphere that was going on, because it's a tremendous game.
In terms of interaction on the field, lots of players do a lot of talking, I'm sure, to you during the game, and I'm sure you respond. Was it easy to referee?
It was. In fairness, both teams really were 100%, and I had no problem with any player, and I really enjoyed it, I'd say, as much as they did, and thankfully everything went okay on the day for me.
What sort of things were they saying to you?
Some players sometimes might look for a free or look for advantage or different things, but you'll have that. You're going to have that in the game. But they know my style, and they'll be happy enough with the way I do let it go, you know.
I'm sure you talk back knowing you.
Sometimes when they have to be. They know by my tone of voice, or maybe, you know, when there's the time to chow them or get on to them, you know.
I'm sure they were only asking me what he had for breakfast.
Something simple like that.
And are you enjoying the day, Brian? Yeah. Damien, what was the difference between the two teams, do you think?
I think Kilkenny took at it from the start. They were ferociously tuned in. I think maybe a few weeks before the final, you know, they would receive a text message, and maybe an hour before training with the location set aside on the phone. The players didn't really know. They trained Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe go again on Sunday. They booked in the Carton House. Day and a half, they knew their jobs. They knew their matchups. They knew the ferocious start they'd have. There was no circus this year, no injury worries. They had serious hunger back. Tipperary came in, they weren't tuned in from the start. They went 5 points down. They didn't really play the sharp passing style that they've been famous for the past 2 years. Interestingly, the points that they got from playing Marty were good combination work, teamwork, but they went the long ball route, and it didn't work out this time. And I think that Brian Cody had his matchups right. I think Tipperary just not tuned in from the start, and they lived to regret it. And I think that they didn't turn up, they didn't perform, and essentially that's the difference between the two teams.
And how difficult is it to do back-to-back All-Irelands?
Well, I suppose going in on the day, you're not worrying about that. You know, you have to be focused on the match at hand. And I suppose just following on what Damien said there, I think it wasn't so much as well the Tipperary didn't play that Kilkenny didn't leave them play. You know, they really did. From the start, they set out their stall. And I think even psychologically, Tommy Walsh picked up Lark Corbett just before the throw-in, you know, just to keep him on his toes. And then Jackie picked him up and, you know, did super on him for the whole game. People were talking about Lark going into the game, and they were saying how many goals did he score. So, you know, every player had a job, like on the Kilkenny team, and, you know, there was much more fluency in their play.
The one thing I picked up on was they went straight for Paddy Maher. Every time he got the ball, three of them swarmed around him, and that meant then he couldn't deliver his diagonal ball to Larry Corbett anymore, and then the threat dried up. But, you know, some fans want to get a grip as well. Like, you know, Tipperary are a young enough team, and Kilkenny won 8 out of 11. That's fine. They'll go down in history. They are the greatest team ever. But, like, I mean, Corbett has scored 19 goals since 2009 in the Championship, and people are on his back after that. These things happen. They're only human, they're only amateurs, but they'll come again. It's a young team, you know.
Brian, do you think it was Brian Cody's greatest achievement to come back after losing the drive for 5 last year?
Well, certainly the positional switches he had his homework done. Like every time Tommy Walsh got a ball, he was gone the opposite side of Pádraig Maher, and he put Henry the opposite side of Pádraig, naturally enough. And his tactics, I have to say, on the day were just unbelievable. Like, Kilkenny were really up for the game, and I suppose in most sectors of the pitch they were probably on top. But see, hunger is a big thing in GA, and just the hunger was the difference on the day.
Yeah. And Kilkenny certainly had the hunger.
And I think as well the hurt as well that they experienced probably in the league final. You know, people were very quick to talk down Kilkenny when they lost to Dublin, and I suppose, you know, they were trying to reclaim their reputation a small bit as well against Tipperary, you know. But definitely you were saying about the tactics. I mean, the players really stuck to their game plan. I mean, the ball that Tommy Walsh was hitting across to Henry Shefflin.
Brilliant,
I mean,
wasn't it?
speaking as a defender, it's the worst kind of ball you want to see your forward getting, because you can't mark a player when they get that kind of space. So definitely, you know, I mean, they really did. They stuck to what they were told to do.
Okay, we'll talk more about. Surprised with that, Paul?
Surprised enough, but not too surprised at the same time. But the reality is that there's possibly 5, possibly 6 counties in the hurling territory looking for new managers next year. So himself will be in the shout for a lot of them. But Donald O'Grady had said from day one that he was going to be there for 1 year and 1 year only. Now, having said that, they got out of Division 2. You know, it would have been disappointed with the championship, really. Probably should have beaten Waterford. Didn't do well against Dublin, beat Antrim. You know, if I was a Limerick hurler, I'd be really disappointed. They're starting to play the short passing game up to the half-back line. They've got Kevin Downs and Declan Hannon up front. The bones of a really great team there, Marty. And it's a bit of a step back now, Donald O'Grady going. There's no point in saying otherwise. But
I'd be very surprised if Limerick don't go and maybe someone local, because the team they had between 93 and 6 were great hurlers, and there's surely someone in Limerick well capable of, I'd say.
Kieran Geary and TJ Ryan and Pat Heffernan and the backroom team like that at the moment, they have to be in the shout for it. Interesting time for a hurling manager, if you are worth your salt, like Dennis Walsh with the likes of Waterford or Wexford. Look at him now that he's gone from Cork. Offaly looking for a new manager. You know, John McIntyre is reviewing the Galway situation. A lot happened last night, but I'm not too surprised Donald O'Grady walked away. He's a shrewd man. He said 1 year and he walked. That was it.
Okay. Now this Sunday is the turn of the All-Ireland Camogie finals, the senior event involved. I wonder, will Sammy be in Croke Park on Sunday? Anna, the Camogie Championship this year was a little bit different, a round-robin basis, 8 teams involved, all playing each other once. Was it a success? Was it a good development?
Certainly, I suppose there was a lot of games. We had 7 games in a row, which was the first in the Camogie Championship. I suppose there was pros and cons to it, you know. I suppose what better time to be playing a series of games than the height of summer, you know. But I suppose it did take its toll on players, and there was injuries starting to reoccur as the championship went on, which ultimately meant that some players were missing games. And I suppose you have to look as well that the club structure did suffer a small bit, because when your inter-county players are continuously out, it doesn't leave that much time for championship games to occur during the summer. I think it could work really well, but maybe earlier on in the year, maybe if the league adopted the championship format, because you give managers more time to see players, and players, and I suppose even budding players, a bit of more game time earlier on in the year, you know, get out the cobwebs after the winter season. So.
The Senior All-Ireland Camogie final is a repeat, obviously, of last year, Wexford and Galway. 2 contrasting styles, isn't there?
Yeah, very much so. I think Wexford have kind of reintroduced the physical element to their play, and definitely, you know, they use it well. And you know, anyone that's playing Wexford knows, you know, that you're in for a battle. And I suppose Galway kind of play it more free up the wings. You know, they kind of play with a bit, you know, I suppose a bit of pace. But certainly Croke Park will suit them. I suppose bottom line, if you look at both teams, both of them have been tremendous on the scoreboard. I mean, Galway have got like 11 goals and 120 points, and Wexford then have 15 goals and like 106 points. So both of them are well capable of putting scores on the board, and I think the ability to score freely in Croke Park will be the difference between the two sides on the day.
Brian, I know you've been involved with Tullamore and won a championship with them in Offaly, but do you think Galway are a bit like Kilkenny? They're out for revenge after last year's defeat. Do you feel that they will have that same hunger?
Well, it's the same as last Sunday. Like, it's very hard to put back-to-back titles together, and I think the one plus for Galway is Trez Maher going back centre back, and because the Wexford forward line is a free-flowing scoring forward line, and I think with Trez Maher going back, you'll see Galway maybe pulling back the midfielders, pulling back the half forward line, something like the seniors, and try and tighten down the Wexford forward line, because the Wexford forward line are very, very dangerous when they get the ball.
I think maybe watching Niamh Kilkenny tear at, you know, the likes of Mary Lacey, and they love to drive on from midfield and put the ball over the bar. I also just wonder, like, JJ Doyle and his management team are over both teams, intermediate and senior. Is that going to be a factor on the day for Wexford?
Well, I suppose, I mean,
it'd be great for the intermediates.
It would, I mean, and definitely, I suppose, for the intermediates, it's fantastic, you know, to be able to be training with the cream of the crop in their county, because they're ultimately going to get better, you know. But I suppose really he's got options on the bench, you know, and so do Galway. I mean, certainly both teams, you know, can bring on players if they're called. So,
but is it hard for them to manage both camps on the final day?
Must be difficult, really.
Yeah.
Well, it probably is, because you probably have a larger number of training things. But you know, then it gives them more options as well, because you might have the new players and even improving players breaking through from the senior. They might be able to use.
2 teams have been training together all year anyway.
That's the big plus.
And,
That's
huge plus.
6 or 7 girls have been, you know, to and from teams.
In between, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still as well, just picking up and what Brian said too. Sinead Callan is back full back now as well for Galway, and she was missing last year, and she'll be a huge asset to them, because she really is good facing the ball, and there won't be too many Wexford players running past her, you know. And Galway have got 2 starters in their half forward lines. Their first year on the team, Martina Conroy from Killimer. They won the All-Ireland club this year, you know, so even though it's her first year into county, you know, she knows what Croke Park is like, so that'll stand to her against Mary Lacey.
Damien Lawlor, who's going to win this All-Ireland senior title? In a word.
Galway.
Brian.
I'll stick with Galway.
2 for Galway. Anna Geary. Casting vote.
You know, I think I'm going to say Galway.
3 from the committee going for Galway.
Hunger.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hunger.
It is.
Bit like
Less sauce.
Okay. Okay, well, on Saturday in Thurles, Dublin and Galway go head-to-head in a much-anticipated All-Ireland Under-21 hurling final. They will hope to emulate Cork, who won 2 Under-21 titles in a row in the late 90s, or even Limerick, who won 3 in a row a few years later. But when it came to senior hurling, those teams had different levels of success.
Cork are the Under-21 champions. Limerick are the champions. 3 in a row.
Looking back on it, 2000 to 2002 was a great time for Limerick hurling. It represented 3 All-Ireland successes, and with it brought an awful lot of excitement to the county. We had players such as Timmy Houlihan was in goals, Damien Reyes, Stephen Lucy, Brian Begley. They all went on to be very prominent as senior hurlers.
I suppose lucky enough to play for Cork in 96, 97, 98 and an under-21 team that was very successful. We won the All-Ireland in 1997 and 98 with a lot of players who would go on to play senior for Cork, the likes of John Brown, Wayne Sherlock, Diarmuid O'Sullivan, Mickey O'Connell, Ben O'Connor, Joe Dean and myself.
Under-21 is quite different to senior hurling. I always felt that using under-21 as a standard bearer to what's going to happen to a senior isn't really an honest barometer of it.
Niall Moran, good solo run here.
Cork hadn't won an under-21 championship in a fair few years, so there was a lot of hope around the county at the time that that team would go on maybe to provide a number of good seniors, and you know, if anything, it went on to provide the backbone of the senior team for the following years.
Some of the expectations that would have followed us having won those under-21s, in hindsight, they were very, very unrealistic. The standard was very, very different, and in a lot of our cases, the step up proved too much simply.
Point-scoring hero for Limerick.
Well, in 1999, I suppose the big move was that Jimmy Barry Murphy gave 6 guys their debuts really at senior level, and Cork went on to beat Clare in a Munster final and went on to beat Offaly and Kilkenny in the following 2 games with that same team.
And Cork are the All-Ireland hurling champions.
Obviously, there was reasons why it hasn't translated. At times, we never helped our own case. For the last decade, instability has been core maybe to a lot of Limerick hurling, and instability in player turnover, instability in manager turnover. And I think that has been predictated by a lot of the expectation that was generated around the under-21s. Maybe we got a bit carried away and thought it was going to be easy.
And Limerick are the Under-21 hurling champions. What an achievement.
Look, obviously you have to look back on it in that we won no Munster title, we won no National League title. It'll always be a regret.
Limerick are back.
For the teams that are playing Sunday, Dublin and Galway, just because you win next Sunday in under-21 doesn't guarantee a success at senior level.
If you are lucky enough to win that competition, it's something that you'll be very proud to say that you've won. And the key thing is, it's like most things in life, you only get a couple of chances, and with under-21 grade, you definitely only get a couple of chances.
2 very different experiences there of bringing under-21 success to senior ranks. Damien, why do some teams make it, graduate from under-21 All-Ireland success to seniors and some others don't?
When Cork hit senior level, Jimmy Barry Murphy was in tow, and it took a few years, but they delivered an All-Ireland in '99, and those guys knew what it was like to win an All-Ireland senior. So even though they had frequent manager changes after that, they had a base to go back to. 6 or 7 of that '99 team came from All-Ireland 21 winning sides. Within a couple of years, they had nearly blitzed the whole team positional-wise. Limerick joined a camp where there were 7 or 8 experienced players. They didn't settle in straight away. You know, it took a while. There was a bit of turbulence there. Thirdly, you'll never meet a more focused bunch than that particular Cork regime. The Limerick lads didn't have that focus. You can dress it up any way you want. And, you know, Cork pushed on, Limerick didn't. You know, on the outside then, Marty, you've got stuff like jobs, college, personal life. There's a whole bunch of reasons when you're at that age, but they would be the 3 key reasons I go for.
Brian, the game itself, you saw the dubs recently, I believe. What did you think of them?
I saw them again awfully in Parnell Park, and I was very, because we started off well that evening. After 10 or 15 minutes, we were leading 6 points to 3. But within again half time, I think Dublin had as well 6 or 7 points down, and they're a big, physical, strong team. But the one thing I've noticed in minor under-21